boy Chauncey, aka Ukarema Great Man of God Media, with another GMOGMedia TV reaction. All right, now I'm gonna get right down to it. I heard a lot about this interview last week, and I want to watch it for sure. I'm gonna give you my raw, uncut, real-time reaction of Ray Lewis talking about Colin Kaepernick. All right. Now, he's been on this show with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp called Undisputed, which is basically a ESPN First Take ripoff. And I watched a couple of clips online, and it seems pretty entertaining. It seems like it's going to give First Take a run for its money. You know, the whole concept was stolen by them, and they ran with it. Yeah, I'm going to watch this video, give my real-time, raw, uncut reactions. I try not to curse on this channel, but anything can happen, family. All right. For those of you who are new, once again, my name is Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Man of God Media. On this channel, I talk about counter racism. All right. I talk about issues that affect Black people collectively as a group, and I offer my suggestions on how to replace this broken system of racism, which is white supremacy, because they're both synonymous. All right. And I offer my suggestions on how to replace it with a system of justice. So if you subscribe to that ideology, please subscribe. All right. This is going to be a reaction video to Ray Lewis talking about Colin Kaepernick, and I'm going to give you my raw, uncut reaction. All right, family. So if you don't like these kind of videos, just don't watch. It's that simple. If so, continue on. I'm about to go in right now on Ray Lewis. I'm going to go my real-time reaction on Ray Lewis right now. So let's get it popping. All right.
Shannon, what is your reaction to Goodell's comments?
Well, I'm glad he commented on it, and I'm glad I know where he stands on this topic. Commissioner is looking at it from a point like, I'm a patriot, I love patriotism, I love the values and the freedoms that this country provides. Well, Colin Kaepernick in that sense is a patriot, because he said, although I've been very successful, although we've come a long way, I believe we can have a better society. You know, people, and this is what I don't understand, is that people will say, let's just say for the sake of argument, 1,000 athletes or entertainers, and says, well, what are Black people complaining about? Well, there's 34 million African Americans or the minorities. I've never heard anyone say, well, the LBG community is not being discriminated against because Ellen DeGeneres has her own show. She's making millions. No one ever says, well, women get 78 to 83 cents on the dollar compared to a man because Meg Whitman is a billionaire. But they only say that about African Americans because you see a Ray Lewis or a Shannon Sharp played in the National Football League on television, or Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan. But the greatest one, you got President Obama in the White House. So America ain't racist. Stop it. No. And America has always had a problem with racism. I think now it's because of the cell phone, because it's captured more and it's in your face. We don't have to wait till 6 o'clock to see it not, Skip. Yeah. You do it, it's up on the internet right now. Commissioner, I believe Commissioner has the right to say what he says, but the First Amendment is a beautiful thing, unless you don't agree with the gesture. But you should be uncomfortable. Protest should make you uncomfortable, and it should come with consequences. So if the 49er says, Colin, we're going to suspend you for 3 games, so be it. He's getting his point across, because Muhammad Ali, all the greats that's taken a stand, John Carlos and Tommy Smith, they took a stand. They could have waited till they come home, but it would not have served the same purpose. Well, wait till you get out of the uniform. No, it wouldn't serve the same purpose. We want you to be uncomfortable. We want you to come to the table and talk intelligently.
So are you criticizing the commissioner's stance on this?
I wish he'd have had a more positive spin. He's making it seem like Colin Kaepernick isn't a patriot. This was never about the flag. This was never about the veterans. He told you what it was about, but you still keep trying to take it back there because you don't want to talk about the issues in which Colin Kaepernick is raising.
Yeah, and listen, when you think about what Colin has did, right? The only thing that I think about the most is Muhammad Ali, Jim Browns, all of these guys. If you come out with this type of stand, the most important thing next is a solution. You must have a solution. Yes. Because if you don't have a solution, then we're just protesting for nothing, right?
Yep.
So when Colin comes out and does what he does, if Colin calls, Shay, you know this, if Colin calls 50 to 100 guys around the league and say, man, look, this is what I'm standing for. I guarantee you get a lot of them to follow you. Right? But sometimes when you go by yourself,
How you know
the
that?
thing that happens is nobody understands what the deal is until you start to actually get into it. So now you think about what Roger's stance is right now. Roger has the stance that says, listen, I get it, Colin. A lot of people stand, a lot of players stand for different things. But you got to understand what you're standing for. I don't think it's about the flag per se, right? Because my only advice to Colin Kaepernick is this. Listen, I understand what you're trying to do, but understand, take the flag out of it, right? I had uncles, I got brothers who walked out of my house going into the military that said, I will never see you again. To understand that, I will always respect that part of what our patriotism should be. Right, and that's the side that I think if Colin really just steps back, because to effect change, right, to effect true change, and what he's trying to say, if you don't have a real solution, if you ain't seen as a true activist to go into these hoods and do these things on a daily basis, and not just jump up and just protest off this one thing because you're sick of it. We've been sick of racism for 400 plus years.
But we want our counterparts to acknowledge it and not sweep it under the rug and tell us it's a figment of my imagination, and not tell me because we have a black president everything's okay. And because Michael Jordan is a billionaire, it's okay. Because Oprah are billionaires, and because we see some blacks on TV that have success, everything in our community, everything in the LBG community is okay, because it's not okay. Right? But you have to understand this, and what the commission must understand also is the flag doesn't represent all things to all people the exact same way. And that's what he's trying to do. If that flag represents freedoms and liberties, I should have freedoms and liberty. And just like his First Amendment, that he has the right to do that, to say, okay, Colin, I think you should have found another way. What other way is? We say, don't riot. They say, we're going to do it peacefully. Okay, we're going to just take a knee. But don't protest like that. If you tell me how I should protest, you kind of minimalizing and weakening what I can do, because you're not trying to hear me. You keep what they keep trying to do. The argument that Colin is making, they keep trying to take it back to songs. They keep taking it back to the flag. They keep taking it back to the veterans. Let's talk about the issues, right? That what Colin is trying to draw attention to.
Thank you.
And then we can get some of our better leaders. Let's get some of our better leaders.
What's the root cause? Why is he doing it?
Counterparts, you got to have them at the table, because having Dr. Michael Eric Dyson or Roland Martin and some of our foremost thinkers in our community, Dr. Harry Edwards, it's not me sitting around the table with a bunch of black guys ain't going to solve anything until we get a bunch of white guys that's in position of authority that can really affect change. Because Dr. King's civil rights movement was great, but it wasn't until the whites came on our side and said, you know what, this is wrong.
I got you.
And once they did that, Skip, it got legs.
Speaking of
Not
white
really
guys,
true. You talked about
I
reparations. When we talk about reparations, that's when the white people are like, hold on, niggas. I don't know about all that.
One nation under God. And I felt like I was already painfully aware of the issue he was trying to draw national attention to, which is that way too many unarmed black men are getting killed by white cops without retribution, without a punishment.
It's been happening for over 400
It's a
years.
staggering problem
Ain't nothing new.
that our nation faces. And I'm begging. I begged Shannon the other day on our first show. Just point me in the right direction. How do we fix this? I don't have a solution to it. You use your words.
It's not a short-term fix, though, Skip.
So then
400 years.
I got it. But there's some fix. At least we're moving in the right direction. So then
How?
I opened my ears and my eyes to what Colin was saying. And he started to extremely impress me, because as a kid quarterback, he was a little angry, a chip on his shoulder, wouldn't talk to the media, kind of turned me off from him, even though I loved him as a player and often applauded him as a player on this show. But now I'm hearing a young man who's growing up, because his last couple of interviews, they've been mature, powerful, well-informed.
Yes.
He's talking to activists and advocates, and he's asking for veterans to come talk to him. He is educating himself. It's almost like he has a whole second career going right now, which is this issue. He has brought great national attention to this issue. So all of a sudden, the season comes, and he does play in the National Football League that is run by Roger Goodell. Right. So Roger felt compelled to finally speak out, and he basically said, time out, appreciate your stance, your First Amendment right, But this is our league. It's not yours. You're just blessed to be able to play. It put words in mouth. That's how it came across to me.
We understand.
You're blessed to play in our league, and I control our league. So I do believe in the uniform code, that it has to be sacred, that you can't protest on your uniform or whatever your cause is. It's all got to be the same because we all love the National Football League. We're going to watch tonight, and we don't want to get distracted by various whatever's on the uniform. Maybe it's breast cancer. Who knows? They're all great causes, but you can't, cloud the uniform. You can't distract the fans from what they love, which is the football game. So I think finally he said, we've all got to do what we got to do in the anthem also, that we have to be patriots or whatever he's saying. He's just saying this is our league, and we do have sponsors who don't like your protests, and so we've got to do it this way. Is that fair to me? I mean, it's big business, and that's what he just took a big business stand.
What kind of sponsors does the
Well,
NFL have
listen,
exactly?
understand the solution, right? And so I want people to really hear this, and you understand this being on great teams, right? Being on great teams is the same thing, exactly what police officers must do. When you're on a great team, the top tier weed out the weaker tier, right? If somebody's doing something wrong in the locker room, you didn't need nobody. You didn't need a coach to come tell me we took care of that.
We took care of that.
And in today's time, police must police policemen. Because if they're not policing themselves, then there's no way we could ever stop what's really going on. Right? Because when you think about what's going on 400 years plus, the only thing that's changed is social media. The only thing that's changed is these things are actually captured now. Right? And now it's more of a sensitive issue because you're saying, how can that happen? But watch this. You think about, and so this is what I'm screaming, and I'm telling Colin, I'm applauding you. I'm applauding him for taking the stand for that.
Right.
But I'm also saying, if you look at CNN yesterday, a topic came out yesterday, 500 homicides in less than 9 months in one city in Chicago.
Right.
So the issue that we're talking about.
Here we go again with this damn Chicago and black on black crime shit, man.
Good cops in every.
You using that same white supremacist tactic, man. Y'all never focus on the root cause.
Right. You know who's racist or not in your.
You do.
You know it. You know it.
I promise you.
You know it. If they speak to your family, you'll know it. If they walk past your kids, you'll know it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Black and white cops.
Absolutely.
Because here's the thing. And when you talk about they will share all cops are not bad. I understand that, but all blacks are not bad either. So don't come with a preconceived notion because we committed crime.
All blacks were forced to be here.
Some, not a majority.
We were forced to be here.
Don't have no preconceived notion.
The slave trade was commissioned by a goddamn Roman Catholic priest.
Give you the benefit of the doubt. All I ask for is that same benefit of the doubt in return. That's all I ask. No more and no less. I'm going to treat you how I would like for you to treat me. And if you see wrong, that's wrong. But they won't do that. Police union, they're going to fight to the end. They won't release information, and when they won't release tape. And when they know they've done wrong, instead of saying, get out, you don't understand the what I find odd is that if you go to a courtroom and you see the show, the prosecutor will turn on the camera, will turn on the videotape, and you see the guy rob the store, he cut it off, nothing else needs to be said. But when we see a cop shoot an unarmed black man, we got to put it in context. We don't know what happened before. We don't know what was said. We don't know what was laid up to it.
Right.
Come on. Right. If you say non-compliance, and this is the word that cops like to use, non-compliance. If I tell you to stop, you should stop. Well, if non-compliance is a death sentence for a black man, whites don't get that.
Right.
They get the benefit of the doubt. They do everything they possibly can.
We know we can be compliant or not compliant. The result is still the same. We know that.
All the time. Nothing is all, nothing is everything. Right. But disproportionately, when you're only making up 12, 14% of the population and 26% of your people are getting killed by the police, there's something wrong with that shit. There's something wrong with that.
Very wrong with that.
Look,
of course.
I know
that's pretty obvious.
We got to live together. This is the greatest country because to come from where I came from and where we came, and you grew up kind of like I did, to be dirt poor, to have nothing, and to be able to bring my family, my brother and I.
This is the greatest country for white people.
I don't know any other country who would have
allowed us to do white society.
But I'm not going to sit here and say it's perfect.
No.
We can get better. Right. Is it good? Absolutely, it's good. There's good in America, and I believe there's inherently good in all of us. But we got to do better, and we can do better. But what we must demand as Americans that we all do better.
Yeah.
Not just our community.
Right.
We're asking all minorities, just hear us out.
To see
Just
us.
listen to us.
That's it.
That's all.
That's it.
We don't want a handout. But all I'm saying, if you're not gonna lend your hand to help me up, don't push me down.
Right.
That's all I'm asking.
Shannon, that was beautifully said. Way to go.
Skip, I've only known you for a couple of years, and I know a few good white men. And I worked for one, and when I couldn't pay to get my stuff for the 8th grade, my grandmother went and borrowed the money from me. My sister graduated, my grandmother went and borrowed the money from me. But Skip, your honesty and sincerity on this topic, and the way you've embraced this debate, you will not, a lot of people would, I don't want to talk about that. I'm going to get brushed back. I'm not white. They don't understand. They're not going to understand. But you will talk and tackle this tough topic because it's tough.
Yeah.
Because as African Americans, we're asking white Americans to sit at the table with us, and some of them have inflicted the most harm upon the African American community. But for you to do what you do continuously and to talk this topic and say, I understand, although I have not experienced it, I understand. See, in my Hall of Fame speech, I said, look, I don't want you to walk out of my shoes. I want you to spend 20 years of my life. See, if you've never been the minority or never had discrimination, never been profiled, unless you've never been called out of your name, called the N-word.
Yeah.
See, I grew up in rural South Georgia. And see, my high school, we used to have white and black superlatives. We had a black most athletic, we had a white most athletic. We had a most likely to be black and a white.
I hope those days are over.
It's just middle school now.
No.
And I don't
That's
know.
Georgia.
But I'm saying
They
it's
still
good.
got segregated towns in Georgia.
There's good.
And
Even
Florida,
in the
too.
South. They treated me good. The guy, like I said, Mr. Joe Tatum, he was good. Gave me the name Pee Wee, and even when I was a professional, going back, he was so proud of me. I was so proud of what he did because there were times that my grandmother didn't have. She had to go borrow from him, and then we'd have to work during the summer to pay it back. So I know there's good, but I know we can do better.
I agree,
Yeah.
and thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, it really wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Now, let me address Skip real quick. Skip Bayless, right? As many times as I watched Skip Bayless over the years in First Take, he's still a suspected white supremacist, all right? Until proven otherwise, until he's able to help point out white supremacists in ESPN, white supremacists in Fox News, and say, hey, this guy here is trying to subjugate and mistreat black people. This is what you need to do to counter that. Until he's able to do that or do some kind of thing where he's able to help black people collectively as a group get some sort of reparations or some kind of monetary gain to benefit black people collectively as a group, he's still a suspected white supremacist. All right, but having a conversation like this about the Colin Kaepernick situation and all that, it's a good start. Shannon Sharpe made some good points, and he pretty much bodied Ray Lewis, talking about leave the flag out of it, talking about the military. This is the same dude huffing and puffing and always talking about these white supremacist counterpoints about Chicago and black on black crime, and we got to stop killing each other. You know, the nigga sounded like a goddamn, I told you he sounded like a damn, he's a preacher. Bishop Ray Lewis. Okay, just a damn pastor, you know, in one of these damn churches in a low income area where there's churches 2-3 blocks from one another. He sounded like one of these pastors down the damn street. We got to pray about it. We got to stop killing each other. You know, not giving no damn solutions. Ray Lewis, you need to talk to a man named Anthony Pryor, okay? Anthony Pryor hates guys like you. Let me play a little clip for Ray Lewis real quick.
But these neo-brainiacs have developed the simplest method of control, and that is fear. How did the enslaver show up when he showed up and he colonized Africa? He showed up in a wooden boat with a leather whip. And today he's coming into the ghettos and the slums of America, showing up in a limousine with leather seats, passing out scholarships, saying, get your ass on this field and win me a championship. That's what's happening.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, that's what happened to your ass. Your ass is, you are still, you're gone. You're a damn zombie to white supremacy. You're a zombie to it, man. You know, you one of these dudes that when a goddamn a multi-billionaire white owner says, "Nigger, you did a good damn job. Thank you, massa." That's you right there. Thank you, massa. Thank you. Thank you for the check, massa. That's what you are, man. And when you always talk about black on black crime in Chicago, this, and we got to stop killing each other, you never talk about the root cause, just like these damn white supremacists. The root cause is white supremacy. Black on black crime does not usurp white supremacy. Okay? Poverty, and I've talked about this before, poverty is the main culprit of us doing the things that we do. Okay? And I've already broke this down in previous videos, man. You know, white people who live in poverty, they commit higher rates of crime than black people who live in poverty. All right, I'm about to go to some documents right now, you know, and just show and prove what I'm talking about. Let me go back to my monitor. See, I got documents right here, man, that I go to throughout the years. These documents are from the 1960s. And I've talked about the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders, right? This is the document I always talk about, right? And one of their findings that they talk about in regards to the social ills, the injustices, the, crimes, the black family structure, all of that stuff here, okay? The main culprit here, what they talked about, is white racism, okay? They said that we live in two societies, one black, one white, separate and unequal. Let me find that exact quote, because some of y'all do talk about, man, you lying. You know, you find that exact quote. But that's my point, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, y'all can check my other videos, man. I've said this plenty of times. It's on this document, man. We live in two societies, separate and unequal. One black, one white, separate and unequal. This was the findings from the 1960, this is actually from the 1968 document of the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders. These are the people who were in this panel to talk about the social ills and the social injustices of black people in the 1960s. All of this stuff still applies till today, all right? And they talk about the same exact issue in other commissions. The National Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations, when they talk about poverty in urban communities and how, funding needs to be increased for impoverished communities. The National Advisory Commission on Prevention of Violence. The National Advisory Commission on Urban Problems. You know what I'm saying? This stuff is nothing new. And they've been studying black people as far as why we act the way we do since the 1960s. That's when it's become a major issue, because when quote unquote Negroes were assimilated to the dominant white society, we were still acting rebellious. White people wanted to know, why were Negroes still, committing crimes, rioting, doing all this kind of stuff, chaos and all that kind of stuff, and we have our own businesses thriving. Why are black people still doing it? Well, they did a study on it from the 1960s. Like I said, the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders. Okay? And all of that stuff still applies till this day. All right? Still applies till this day. So, again, this whole damn thing about black on black crime, and we got to stop shooting each other. We got to stop killing each other. The root cause is racism, white supremacy. Focus on the root cause. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on the cause. The problem is not black on black crime. The problem is not guns. The problem is racism, white supremacy. All right? That is the root cause. That is the only situation where we need to replace the system of injustice, the system of racism, white supremacy, with a system of justice. So don't let these lost Negroes like Ray Lewis, you know, and all these other guys who are, you know, slaves on Sundays, slaves to their damn white daddy that's paying them to talk bad about black people on Fox News and stuff like that. Don't let these guys fool you, okay? They are paid coons. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to act that way, all right? So don't let these guys distract you from the real root cause, which is racism, white supremacy. All right, family? So that's what I wanted to talk about with that video, man. That was my real-time reaction. And I'm starting to really dig this segment. Like I said, this is raw and uncut, so anything can come out of my mouth after watching these videos. More content. If I find, I'm going to continue to find some other videos where I'm like, hey, I'm going to just save that for later. I'm going to give you my real-time reaction, so it'll pop up randomly throughout the week. But stay plugged in, stay tuned. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. All right, family. Chauncey, a.k.a. Ukarema, Great Man of God Media, signing out. Peace.